So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is a quick video because I wanted to try and explain a couple of things, and this is about plants. A number of people, and I have recently just seen some videos, and one of the videos I'm going to show you now, and then I'm going to go back through a few things and explain to people. So, again, without getting into too much detail, Steve Todd has um, given me advice on a blender and what to drink every day as a smoothie, right? And it's given me bundles of energy. I feel a lot better in myself. I am keeping an eye on my blood pressure because I've stopped all medication, heart medication, etc. My next stage is obviously to stop smoking, and it is bad for you, right? So, but it's bad for you because of the oxygen levels in your body and the fact that smoke, when you smoke, nicotine or otherwise, it's the other bits and pieces that fills your cells with something that you shouldn't be filling it with. So, that said, and again, this is not me going on some sort of nutty thing about smoking because I'm still smoking, right? I will say this to people. Now, I've seen a video, and hopefully I'm going to bring it up on my screen.
It's laughable. It says here, malaria drug chloroquine does not inhibit SARS-CoV-2. So this study came out this week, and this is in tissue culture. So I looked at the study, and I thought, that's interesting. I don't know what happened there, but let me look at it. So then I saw KLU3 lung cells. So they said, hey, it may work in kidney cells, but it doesn't work in lung cells. So in our evidence, yeah, it can work in vitro in kidney cells, but not in lung cells, right? So I thought, well, that's interesting. I worked at MD Anderson. I was in ocular oncology, and I thought about it. I said, I've heard of that cell line before, KLU3 lung cell. It's an adenocarcinoma. It's a lung cancer cell. So I tweeted, I corresponded with the author, and I said, I am so happy for your study. You just showed one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. I never thought I would see something so clear. You just proved that when virus is around and chloroquine is around, chloroquine will let the virus attack a cancer cell. I think about that. So it will protect a normal cell, but chloroquine will not protect a cancer cell because they're de-differentiated, the receptors are different. I mean, think about that. So I told him back, I said, thank you. That's you completely misinterpreted the data, and you hid the fact they hid it. They put it all the way down. As you know, you have to look for the data set. So I found it in the appendix, in little letters, KLU3 lung cells. This is the disinformation campaign that we are faced with. They put out a big thing and they said, oh, it doesn't work. They put it on Medical Express. That's it for chloroquine. It's unlikely to work against SARS-CoV-2. We just proved it. No, you proved chloroquine is one of the smartest drugs in history. It will let the viruses attack cancer cells, but not normal cells.
Right. So again, I'm back on my normal screen. I'm hoping you all just heard that, right? We then go on to, let me see if I can bring this up. What he's actually talking about, and I will put this in the description for everyone. What he's actually talking about, let's see if I can bring this up on your screen. He's actually talking about this. And again, this is where I do a lot of my research on these studies. Now, this is a study that has been done. Chloroquine does not inhibit infection of human lung cells with SARS-CoV-2, right? So bearing in mind, their statement they're making is this doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. Now, one of the things that this guy is talking about is the lung cell line KLU3, right? And that's what he was just talking about. But if you go further down and start to read into this, and without getting really, really technical, you start to read in what they're actually talking about and the inhibitors. Chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine increase the endosomal pH of cells and inhibited viruses that depend on low pH for cell hit. So Remember, they're talking about pH. Look here, pH, all the way through this, pH, right? Now, I'm going to stop that share. Why is this important? Because Steve Todd, Chris Fralls, who is the redneck Royal Marine, who seems to have the energy of 20 gorillas, right? Because he's got an alkalized bloodstream, therefore his energy, etc. He's fit. Except there's lots of reasons why it's a positive, but I want you to know this, right? So I then said, is there anyone I know who's into gardening, right? And there is, basically. So I spoke to a couple of people and I said to them, how can I show people what I'm talking about? And I try to explain to people. Let me see if I can actually find it on the screen anywhere again. Looks like it's gone pear-shaped already. Let me see if I can find it. Right, here you go, right? So I'm going to show you this. Now, before I do, don't get terrified by what I'm saying, because this is really simple, right? In effect, I want people to understand what scurvy was. And scurvy basically meant that you started to rot because your body was missing something or couldn't, it wasn't getting a nutrient, it wasn't getting a vitamin, and it turned out it was a vitamin that it was missing, and it was vitamin C. Now, in the 1500s, earlier and later, scurvy was the cancer of society in them days. It was a killer. Once you got it, you got it. And invariably you died of it, even though they didn't realise that these gorgeous little things, I'm not even sure if it can show it on the camera because it's coming up as a green, because it's green, it's a green screen, is a lime, and lime contains massive amount of vitamin C. But what I'm going to do now is show you something else, because this goes back to the standard way of human beings and how over millions and millions of years we are very like plants in the way our bodies work, right? In terms of pH balances. So what I'm going to do is show you what happens, and anyone out there who is a keen gardener will know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because this is the same thing that we're talking about in the human body. So I'm going to tell you and call it, say, it's called bottom rot on tomatoes, right? So again, I spoke to a gardener friend of mine and I said, this is the situation. Can you tell me something that happens with plants or tomato plants or whatever it is that is something to do with nutrient uptake, and it's related to how acidic the soil is or how alkaline the soil is, etc., and why it causes a problem? And he said, yeah, it's called bottom blossom or bottom or end rot, right? So I'm going to show you the pictures, and then I'm going to show you what basically the problem is, right? So again, don't be terrified. It's just a tomato. There's pictures on the screen now of basically end rot or bottom rot or whatever you want to describe it of. And this is just on tomatoes, by the way. It happens to many others, and I can show you the screens of all the other types of vegetables, fruits, etc., that get this type of thing. Now, what is it and what's causing it? Well, if you go further down, or I won't go further down, I'll go to this. This is just a website I picked up. Common Sense Home, using sound judgment to be more self-reliant, right? Now, this is 7 tips to stop blossom end rot and save the harvest. So you can actually stop it, right? 7 tips to stop it. Now, when you look at that picture online, right, and I know it's not really nice looking at rotten fruit, and especially when it's as rotten as what that stuff is there, right? That's what happens in your body, all right? That rot, what you're seeing there on a tomato, is what cancer is. But it's the cancer inside your body. That's what happens. And they try go in and cut it out and do all sorts of things, right? So when you go down there, it says what causes bottom end rot, and then it says how do you stop it, etc. And then you've got balanced fertilizers. Check your soil pH before planting. It's all important, right? So there you go. Bottom end rot is caused by the tomato plant not being able to get enough calcium to the developing fruit. This calcium deficiency is not caused by a plant disease like a fungus or bacteria, right? Blossom end rot may occur in tomatoes, peppers, melons, eggplants, squash, and cucumbers. Some describe it as a water-soaked spot, but to me, it simply looks black or mushy and rotten. Why don't the plants get enough calcium to the fruit? This can be due to a number of factors, including moisture, too little or too much nitrogen, so soil too cold or too at planting, root damage due to cultivation. But here's the killer: soil pH too high or too low. Either extreme of pH can make it difficult for your tomatoes to thrive, right? Now, either way, it goes in different variations of what we're talking about. So what I'm going to do now is try and show you another picture, if I can find it. And it's not on there at the moment. So let me just go back to my normal screen. So what you've just seen is tomatoes, and you start to see the stages. Now, people will look at that, and because it's a tomato, right, the gardener can look and all of a sudden he sees it, right? But if it's inside your body, you can't see it, right? They can do certain tests and they'll find that there's different issues going on in your body, and you'll get an enzyme that shows you that your body has got cancer. But what that enzyme is actually saying is there's something wrong, and you need to change it quick, right? And you can reverse it. Now, that's what we're trying to explain to you with the pH side of things and and acid, right? So the next thing I'll say to you is this, and it's fairly simple when you look at it logically. Who are the best people to understand cancer? Well, the best people to understand cancer are farmers, because what do farmers do? Farmers rotate their crops. And so the person I spoke to on the phone before this video, he said, for example, if you look at runner beans, if you have a whole crop of runner beans, the soil will be left highly potassiumized, or high levels of potassium, because that is almost a byproduct of growing runner beans. But if you grew runner beans again in that highly potassiumized soil, you'd have a failed crop when it all goes pear-shaped, and whatever else will happen with it, right? And he said one of the reasons why you rotate crops is because different vegetables, different types of plants all take different nutrients from the earth, right? So if you just kept growing one type of crop, it would deplete that specific types of enzymes, nutrients, and various elements, right? What does that mean? Well, it would mean that the crop would start to fail, the crops would fail, and that was particular. That's how famines, especially when people, instead of being normal human beings and going out foraging, and the natural elements of the growth of plants and trees, etc. What you ended up getting was, when human beings started to farm, they didn't realize the significance of rotating crops. And then because people would, for 3-5 years or whatever it would be, whatever the time frame is, they would rely on them crops. And then all of a sudden you get a famine. And you get a famine because the crops would fail, because everyone was growing the same type of crop at the same time, etc. And then if the crops failed, then no one had anything to eat. And then you got a serious problem, because all of the people, instead of being foragers, they're relying on a single source or a centralization food process, right? Which is not what we want to do over here. So there's a couple of other things I'm going to show you on that. And why is it important? And I'm hoping I haven't confused anyone with this, right? So what you're seeing on there now is something else that a friend of mine sent me. And what you're seeing is the pH balance. So there's the acidic in the left. So 4.55, 5.5, 6. And then you start going into the neutral balance, and completely neutral is 7. And then you start going into the alkaline ranges. pH ranges of naturally arid regions, right? And you can see the take up of nitrogen, calcium, and magnesium, very important. Phosphorus, potassium, there you can see that in the alkaline range, it's taken up a lot. Sulfur, iron, less iron, but there's just an indication of what goes on. But what you can see is the greater levels are where it's nearing neutral or just past neutral in the alkaline ranges, where you take on the best stuff. And then at the bottom of the screen, you'll see all these other little things. Now, without confusing anyone, and I don't want to confuse them, if this is to make it as simple as possible, remember the tomato, right? And just remember that a gardener can see his plants react to bad nutrient take up because they start to rot. The problem with a human being is you're seeing, you can't see the rot inside you, right? And it's because for whatever reason, your pH levels, or you're not giving your body the nutrients that it really needs. And that's how cancer is caused. Can you reverse it? Yes, you can. Can your body deal with it? Yes, it's very advanced. But you have to give your body a fighting chance of doing that, right? And to do that, you need a alkaline, not massively alkaline, but you need to go over to alkaline blood levels or pH levels, etc. That automatically puts the cancer on a back foot, right? Because cancer cells thrive in acidic pH levels. All right. And that's and what we're seeing from the tomatoes is what you're seeing inside your body, and that is the rot that cancer is, right? And can you stop it? Now, if you go and read any of these things that I'm going to put in the description of here, it's just basic science, and it's basic grow science, whatever you want to describe it as. And the more you learn about that element, the more you learn that the way the soil feeds a plant, the way the earth feeds a plant, and the way, even in hydroponics, the way you feed a plant, the way you keep it in a certain environment, etc., that's exactly what you should be doing with your body. So you listen and you understand that there's certain conditions that are showing you that your body is not taking up certain nutrients. Now, it could be that you're eating the right stuff, but for some reason, there's a reason why your body is more acidic. And because it's acidic, it won't take up the nutrients, which is, by the way, what actually causes the end rot in tomatoes. So it could be it's there. It could be that there's something else blocking it and blocking the uptake of that nutrient, right? So the reason I'm doing this video and to show you is, again, to show you we're having conversations with people, normally everyday people, that understand, and you ain't got to be a fucking rocket scientist to work out that there is a link, if you like, between bottom rotting fruit and tomatoes, etc., that a good gardener who's been doing it years with experience looks at it, understands there's a problem in the soil, right? And that's what human beings have got to get back. They've got to understand that their body is that plant, right? And you need to recognize the sign. And the issue is that you are not seeing the inside of your body. Yeah, it's not like a tomato where it's obvious, yeah, or should be obvious to any gardener. That's it. So I thought I'd do this video. Hopefully I haven't waffled on too much and you understand what I'm saying. But again, them links will be in the description of this video. And just to tell you, it looks as if ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and I would consider as well for benzodol, otherwise known as Panacur, create or increase the pH levels, therefore help to create an alkaline bloodstream and help create the cells and an entry route into a cancer cell. That's it, right? So as long as you understand that. I'm off. Tiddly poo. Au revoir. Love you all. Bye bye.